Go ahead.
Are you on Kariv here? He's letting people, are you in the waiting room? Yes. Yeah. Oh, so many people.
Okay, we're live and
Okay.
being recorded.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. We'll just wait one more moment for everyone to enter.
Bonnie, hello.
Hi,
Hi, who is that?
Steinbricks.
Hi,
Dick and Diane.
Hi, Dick and Diane. I'm going to mute everyone. I see Rabbi Bergman. Amy, you'll continue to
Hi.
admit people?
Yes.
Who is that? Okay.
Steinbricks.
Welcome,
Dick
everyone.
and Diane.
Thank you all for coming. I'm going to mute. I'm muting everyone. And there'll be time at the end for people to say a word of condolence or greeting. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to do a Mariv service, followed by some very special guests who are not actually guests, they're really B'nai Bayit. They're part of the family who are going to share some words of remembrance. Rabbi Rick Jacobs, Rabbi Gilad Kariv, and Anat Hoffman. And I'm going to share my screen to put up the text of our service. We begin with the 121st Psalm. Esa'inai el heharim, me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Al yitein lamot raglecha al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum velo ishan, shomer Yisrael. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help will come from the eternal maker of heaven and earth. God will not allow your foot to slip. Your guardian does not slumber. Behold, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The eternal is your keeper. The eternal is your shade at your right hand. The sun shall not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The eternal will guard you from all evil. God will protect your being. The eternal God will guard you coming and going from this time forth and forever. I invite you to rise as you are able for Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. I invite you to please read and pray and sing along with us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim. Heaven and earth, O God, are the work of your hands. The roaring seas and the life within them issue forth from your creative will. The universe is one vast wonder, proclaiming your wisdom and singing your greatness. The mysteries of life and death, of growth and decay, alike display the miracle of your creative power. God of life, the whole universe is your dwelling place, all being a hymn to your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. We praise you, O God. Your word makes evening fall. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael amcha ahavta. In the human heart, too, you reign supreme. Above the storms of passion and hate that shake our world, we hear your voice proclaim the law of justice and love. May our eyes be open to your truth, our spirits alive to your teaching, our hearts united to serve you. May we find the will to consecrate ourselves anew to the task of all the generations, to speed the dawn of a new day, when all will be united in friendship and peace, and with one accord acclaim you, their eternal God. We rise as we are able. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, amen. Infinite God, creator and redeemer of all being, you are most high, most near. In all generations, we have cried out to you. We have put our trust in you. We have borne witness to your love before the nations. Oh, now let your light and your love appear to us and lead us. Bring us to your holy mountain. Then, though earth itself should shake, though the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters thunder and rage, though the winds lift its waves to the very vault of heaven, we shall not despair. We shall not lose hope, for you are with us. We shall rejoice in your deliverance. Then shall we know you, our Redeemer and our God, and in the shadow of your wings we shall sing with joy. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot oseh fele, nora tehilot oseh fele, malchutecha ra'u v'necha, bokei hayam לפני משה ומרים, זה ליאנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Eternal God, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up to find our hearts waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. We thank you, God, for watching over us, over all our people Israel, and over Jerusalem. We now rise as we are able for the Amidah. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips and my mouth will declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chastei Avot Ve'imahot, U'mevei Geula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo V'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים. ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. May be seated. We give thanks for the divine flame that glows within, the gift of reason that enables us to search after knowledge. Blessed is the eternal source of wisdom and knowledge. May our pride of intellect never be an idol, turning us away from feeling wonder and awe. As we grow in knowledge, may we remain aware that all our learning is but a handful of bright pebbles picked from the wide shore of the unknown. Blessed is the one to whom all things are known. May the beauty and mystery of the world give us to reverence and humility. Let the tree of knowledge bear good fruit for us and our children. Blessed is the one from whom all blessings flow. And let the consciousness of your presence be the glory of our lives, making joyous our days and years. Blessed is the one who hearkens to prayer. We now take a few moments for each of us to offer the prayer that rises from our hearts and souls. We now take a few moments to pray silently. Yhu l'ratzon imrei fi, v'hegion libi lefanecha Adonai, tzuri v'goali. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. We rise as we are able for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kigoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kamishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. May be seated. Eternal God, we face the morrow with hope made stronger by the vision of your deliverance, a world where poverty and war are banished, where injustice and hate are gone. Teach us more and more to respond to the pain of others, to heed your call for justice, to pursue the blessing of peace. Help us, O God, to gain victory over evil, to bring nearer the day when all the world shall be one. On that day, the age-old hope shall come true. On that day, O God, you shall be one, and your name shall be one. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu. Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo, u'shemo, u'shemo echad. We are assembled with our friends in the shadow that has fallen on their homes. We raise our voices together in prayer to the source of life, asking for comfort and strength. We need light when gloom darkens our home. To whom shall we look, if not to the Creator of light? We need fortitude and courage when pain and loss assail us. Where shall we find them, if not in the thought of the one who preserves all that is good from destruction? Who among us has not passed through trials and bereavements? Some bear fresh wounds in their hearts and therefore feel more keenly the kinship of sorrow. Others whose days of mourning are more remote still recall the comfort that sympathy brought to their sorrowing hearts. All things pass. All that lives must die. All that we prize is but lent to us, and the time comes when we must surrender it. We are travelers on the same road that leads to the same end. As in the world around us, so too in human life, darkness is followed by light, and sorrow by consolation. Life and death are twins. Grief and hope walk hand in hand. Although we cannot know what lies beyond the body's death, we put our trust in the undying spirit that calls us into life and abides to all eternity. Eternal God of the spirits of all flesh, you are close to the hearts of the sorrowing, to strengthen and console them with the warmth of your love and with the assurance that the human spirit is enduring and indestructible. Even as we pray for perfect peace for Betty Roswell, whose life has ended, so do we ask you to give comfort and courage to the living. Together, may the knowledge of your nearness be our strength, O God, for you are with us at all times, in joy and sorrow, in light and darkness, in life and death. Together, O God, healer of the brokenhearted and binder of their wounds, grant consolation to those who mourn. Give them strength and courage in the time of their grief, and restore to them a sense of life's goodness. Fill them with reverence and love, that they may serve you with a whole heart, and let them soon know peace. And let us all say, Amen. Invite the mourners to rise, and us, the rest of us with them, as they recite the Kaddish, and we join them in loving memory. Kadash me Rabbi, v'alma divra chirute v'amlich malchute, v'chayechon v'yomechon, uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman Kariv v'yamru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbi mevarach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudusha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, damiran b'alma v'yamru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'yamru Amen. May the source of peace grant peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. You may be seated. We close our service with the 23rd Psalm. Adonai ro'i lo echsar, binoteshi yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yenahaleni, nafshi yeshovev. Yancheni v'madle tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech begetzal mavet lo irara ki ata imadi. Shivtecha u'mishantecha, hema yenachamuni. Taroch lefana shulchan neged sorarai, dishanta v'shemen roshi, kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yurdefuni, kol yemei chayai, v'shavti b'veit Adonai, lo'orech yamim. Adonai, you are my shepherd, I shall not want. You make me lie down in green pastures. You lead me beside still waters. You restore my soul. You guide me in paths of righteousness for the sake of your name. Yes, even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. With rod and staff you comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You've anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of my God forever. I'm going to take down my screen sharing, and we have a number of notable speakers who are going to offer tributes to Betty's life. Before I turn to them, it is a beautiful Jewish custom that in a house of mourning, one studies Mishnah. One reason is because of the belief that the study of Torah is what we say is le'ilui hanishama, for the elevation of the soul, to guide the soul and assist it on its journey to its final rest, to return to its source. And the second is that the word Mishnah contains the same letters as the Hebrew word neshama, which means soul. So just a very brief piece, because I did have the opportunity to speak yesterday. I want to give the opportunity to others. So there's a piece of a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. I won't even cite the whole Mishnah, but it says, Ezehu mechubad, or in this case, Ezohi mechubedet, hamechabedet et habriot. Who is to be honored, or who is honorable? And the Mishnah says, those who honor others. And of course, this is the story of Betty Roswell, who was always so kind and so caring, so open to others, so interested in others, curious and inquisitive about other people's lives, and always wanting to hear their stories. And her work in life, her philanthropy, her family, her community was one of outreach and embracing others, to uplift people and to give the kavod habriot, the honor and the respect, the dignity that is deserved by every human being. And Betty was a champion of celebrating and preserving and promoting human dignity. So I'm going to ask everyone to please stay muted at this point. We are blessed to have several of the great leaders of our reform movement, to which Betty was so deeply devoted. And I invite them not just as leaders of our movement, but people with whom Betty enjoyed and appreciated a deep personal relationship. So first I'm going to call on Rabbi Rick Jacobs, who is the president of the Union for Reform Judaism, and after him, Rabbi Gilad Kariv, who is the president of the IMPJ, the Israel Movement for Progressive Reform and Progressive Judaism, and Anat Hoffman, who is the head of the Israel Religious Action Center. Rabbi Jacobs.
Thank you, Rabbi Gluck. And just to begin by saying, if you knew Betty Roswell, then you loved her. You didn't simply know her, you loved her, because she was a person who was filled with wisdom. Yeah, she was smart, and she was kind, and she was genuine, and she was humble, and she was joyful, and she was loving. Now, most of us would settle for one of those, maybe two, but Betty had them all in abundance. We have so many Jewish values filling so many sacred books and narratives. How do you hold on to all those values? Well, a simple way would be just to spend time with Betty and Art, and to see the way they embodied what is most precious and holy in our remarkable Jewish tradition. Yesterday, we finished our study of Genesis. Today, we begin our consideration of Exodus. Genesis is all about family. Exodus begins and is all about our people. Like Genesis, Betty's long and purposeful life was devoted to her family. But like Exodus, Betty's life was also about her deep and profound connection to the Jewish people here in North America, in Israel, of course, and throughout the Jewish world that she knew and that she loved. going to just focus a remembrance on a few key moments. I remember vividly 7 years ago, we had lunch in Art and Betty's home. And it was a meeting to think about how would we bring together the things that Betty and Art love so deeply. The World Union, which has been so much a part of their lives. The Israel movement for progressive Reform Judaism, and their beloved Beth-El and their beloved Rabbi Arnie Gluck here in North America and this movement. And the conversation just got going, and the eating and the talking, and it seemed like, could we somehow bring together what Betty and Art have lived and loved in this Reform movement? Could we create a way for the next generation to somehow imbibe those core values and teachings? So we created, after lots of discussion and more lunches and more exploration, we created the Roswell Klal Yisrael Fellowship, literally bringing together the Union for Reform Judaism, the World Union, Progressive Judaism, the Israel movement, all together with a cadre of the next generation of leaders who would know one another, would be connected globally and deeply to the land of Israel and to each other and to the things that mattered most. While so many in the Jewish world endlessly talk about the future and worry about the future, Betty and Art were always about building that future, investing in that future, not just thinking about the dollars required, but what about the passion and the commitment that they brought? It was about the content. And so we have now over 100 Klal Yisrael fellows, and they are everywhere. Wherever you have a map, there they are. They're in London, they're in Berlin, they're in Ramat Gan, they're in DC, they're in Memphis, they're in Belarus, they're in Tel Aviv, they're in New York and Philadelphia, and they're at camp, and they're in the city, and they're so deeply involved in shaping an innovative, inclusive Reform Judaism for the future that's alive. And this group of remarkable fellows would gather each cohort each year, and they get to spend time with Betty and Art, a highlight of the whole year. And they would spend time a week in Europe learning and growing what's happening in that remarkable part of the world. A week growing and learning in Israel with all of the incredible wise leaders of our community there. And again, another week here. And then the highlight would be to gather with Art and Betty. And when we started with song, Rabbi Reuven Greenwald remembers, all of a sudden that was the perfect thing for Betty. Start with song. And she was delighted to sing and to be a part of that gathering. But then she wanted to know, the social worker in Betty wanted to know, who were these young people? What were they doing? What were their lives like? How could we draw from them and spread their experience? And it brought such delight to both Art and Betty to just be with these young people. And they were so at home, not just with their peers and not just with their family. They were at home with the Jewish community that they have loved and nurtured over all these years. It's amazing to think about the impact of this global fellowship, that they would have a Jewish world that wouldn't be their family or their congregation or even their city. Each of their Jewish worlds is as broad and as connected as can be. So it is a global Jewish community, and it is grounded and connected to the state of Israel and the remarkable movement that grows there. Just another reflection. One of our newest creations here in North America is our RAC in different states. And there's a RAC New Jersey, go figure. There's a RAC California, okay, a RAC Illinois, a RAC, but the RAC in New Jersey is our newest. And of course, who would know how important it was to have social justice on the state level? Of course, Betty and Art. So we now have a community organizer out there doing the work, bringing the strength of our congregations, the leaders of our New Jersey congregations together to do God's work, caring for the most vulnerable ones. That's the holy work. The last story is about Roswell Shabbat at Rutgers Hillel. there we were. It was the coldest day of the year. And there we were gathered in a remarkable building. But of course, there's a particular part of that remarkable building called the Art and Betty Roswell Sanctuary, where we prayed with a group of Reform Jewish college students with such passion. And yes, there was some singing, some really good singing coming from the college students, but Betty carried more than her own. Shabbat dinner with over 400. And then we had a late night conversation about all the things that mattered in Reformed Jewish life. And I got to tell you, I looked around the group and the college students were getting awfully tired. It was getting late. I'm going to just admit it. I was getting tired. But I looked at Art and Betty and they were like, they had just woken and they were ready. Let's talk about this. And what about that? And that to me is who they are. People who reveled in the real substance of what matters in our movement and in the world and could connect with their family deeply. We heard beautiful stories on Friday of the family, not just the immediate family and the grandchildren, but the nephews and the nieces and the cousins and everyone there could connect. And they could connect with people from Hillsborough, New Jersey, but also people from Belarus and every part of Israel. That is this remarkable gift. It's a gift that we will treasure. And in conclusion, let me just say, yesterday in synagogues throughout the Roswell Fellowship world, which is the whole world, we read Parashat Vayechi. It's an amazing passage about the death of Jacob, but it's called "And He Lived," Vayechi. The Talmud says in Tractate Ta'anit, page 5b, that there really are two deaths. There's the physical death we experience, and then there's the death of our impact and influence on the world. And for most people, those two deaths are simultaneous. But for the very rare and special people, for the people like Betty Roswell, their death on this earth does not mean there's a diminution of their impact and influence on the world. Vayechi. Betty's life will live in the generations of her family, in the love, in the goodness, in the music, and in the joy that she planted deep within her family. But let us also remember Vayechi. She will live, not just in the Roswell Fellows, but in the very marrow of this Reform movement, who not only knew Betty Roswell, but we love her. She will live long after her time on earth is over, because she was one of those radiant souls whose life continues to light our world. May her memory be a blessing, and her life, may it inspire the kind of Reformed Judaism that she lived, the kind of Reformed Judaism that she wanted to pass on and did and planted. May that future grow and radiate the beauty and the holiness and the goodness of Betty Roswell.
Amen. Thank you, Rabbi Jacob. Thank you. Rabbi Gilad Kariv.
Dear Art, thank you, Rabbi Arnie. Dear Art, Bob, Judy, Marjorie, and all of the Roswell family. I share my short remarks in memory of Betty on behalf of the Israel Reform Movement, our rabbis and congregations, but in the same breath, I carry with me meaningful personal memories of a woman who was, together with Art, a source of great inspiration, encouragement, and support for me. It could be that many of you here do not know it, but fundraising for most rabbis and leaders is not the most enjoyable aspect of our work. In the rough reality of operating an NGO and ensuring its sustainability, there are not many moments that counter the feeling of isolation and carrying heavy burden. Moments when you feel that you are with true friends and partners, with good people with whom to make the journey. My encounters with Betty and Art from the time I became the president of the Israel Reform Movement have been such special moments. This is not because they were easy meetings or not challenging. The opposite was the case. The meetings with Betty and Art involved always systematic, serious preparation. They were not storytelling meetings, and especially not meetings of flattery. They were always serious business meetings with tens of questions and dealings with all details of the proposed project. It is not an accident that I always came to Betty and Art's home with a rolled-up map of Israel, prepared to show Betty the exact town, city, or kibbutz where we were planning to establish a new congregation. However, together with coming to these meetings with trepidation, I left them always with a broad smile. This was not because I received an immediate answer to my request. Betty and Art always invested more thought, consideration, and questions in writing and by phone. I left their apartment or Rabbi Arnie's study with a smile because I met again and again people who give inspiration and warmth. People who, while asking questions about programs and numbers, also tell stories from their childhood, express pride in the achievements of their grandchildren, ask to see pictures of my children, express real worry that I arrived again in the middle of January to New Jersey without gloves, and a warm coat, and always 2 kisses on the cheek when I came and when we said goodbye. This past Friday, I told my children about the passing away of Betty. Since the memorial service was scheduled after the beginning of the Shabbat in Israel, I asked my children whether, in their opinion, I should watch the service during Shabbat. One answered that if my participation was part of work, then I should stick to the standard that I owed them to, no school or study-related activities on Shabbat. But if this is about saying goodbye to a real friend, and the fact that a tear came to your eyes when you read the announcement, then absolutely you must participate. For me, there was no better way to express the unique people that Betty and Art are for me and for so many of my colleagues in the Israel Reform Movement. One of the most moving parts of the memorial ceremony on Friday was when Marjorie sang Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, Jerusalem of Gold, the most famous song ever written by Naomi Shemer. Another popular song written by her, which did not get much publicity outside of Israel, is Anashim Tovim Be'emtza Haderech, good people in the middle of the journey. One man bought me a book that was 100 years old. Another built a violin with music in it. A good woman gave me her name. Since then, I'm on my way singing in her stead. Anashim Tovim Be'emtza Haderech, good people in the middle of the journey, very good people indeed. Good people that know the way, and with them, you can continue to walk. In our very, very long journey to root, nurture, and grow egalitarian and inclusive Judaism in Israel, Betty was our good friend and partner in the middle of the road. Dozens of Israeli congregations and their rabbis will continue to sing her song. Yehi Zichra Baruch.
Thank you, Rabbi Gilad. Thank you for those beautiful words. Call now on Anat Hoffman.
Betty and Arthur Roswell embody the sentiment that the greatest thing you'll ever learn is to love and be loved in return. Whenever I met or spoke to them, they were always together. I have an image of them etched in my memory. In Jerusalem on a sunny day, Art kneeling down to tie Betty's shoe. The princess, the shoe, and kneeling Prince Arthur. The image represents their decades of looking out and looking after each other in the most tender and gentle and kind and thoughtful way. Betty believed that the ultimate test of faith is perseverance. I owe her a great debt for believing in Iraq's work, even on the rare occasions when we lost faith in ourselves. On the battlefield of justice, she was a knowledgeable and resolute partner, always encouraging us to get into some good trouble. According to Betty, Israel must be aligned with the highest ideals of Judaism. She understood that in order to achieve a true democracy in Israel or anywhere, a big-hearted, tolerant, equal, inclusive, and pluralistic society is crucially needed. Betty was willing to bet everything on the success of a committed group of Israeli Reform Jews fighting to build a vibrant, sustainable, proud reform movement in the Jewish state. Today, while we celebrate and remember Betty's life, I think she would appreciate knowing that one of our struggles that she was most passionate about, the struggle for equal recognition of reform and conservative converts, is about to be advanced in Israel. Her support allowed us to achieve equal recognition of such conversions performed outside Israel. In the upcoming weeks, we anticipate a Supreme Court ruling regarding reform and conservative conversions performed inside Israel. We hope that in Betty's memory, we will soon be able to report that dozens of reform and conservative converts that we represented for over a decade will be able to legally make their home in Israel. Betty's final lesson was to let family be her guiding star, even when she was lost in her dementia and nothing seemed familiar, she was able to reorient herself towards art and towards the family. And finally, a special word to you, dearest Art. You've done so much for the Jewish people. You harnessed your talents and resources for Judaism, because of Judaism, and as an expression of your Judaism. It is now time that Judaism gave you something back. It is time for Judaism, for the old lady to get up, and when I mean the old lady, I mean the Jewish faith, to get up and do something useful for you. For example, hold your hand and help you survive this immense loss. I hope you can find both purpose and meaning in continuing on the path that you shared with your beloved. My heart goes out to you, Art. Teheh nishmata tzrura b'tzror hachaim.
Thank you, Anat. I want to recognize Judy Weinstein, Betty's daughter, who received some words from Rabbi Dick Hirsch, the president for life. I guess that's the way they say emeritus at the World Union, and a global perspective on emeritus status. Judy has some words that Dick sent along. Dick was a long-time friend and partner with Betty and Arthur. Judy?
Dear Arthur and family, Baruch Dayan Ha'emet, blessed be the judge of truth. You have lost a blessed wife, mother, and grandmother. Our world has lost a role model of a woman of valor. My wife Bella and I were privileged to spend many meaningful hours as personal friends of Betty and Arthur. On every trip we made from Israel to New York, at least one evening was devoted to an intimate dinner, just the four of us. Generally, before dinner, we would visit with Arthur's remarkable mother and then go on to an evening of discussing the problems of the world and the issues confronting the Jewish people and the World Union for Progressive Judaism. Betty and Arthur joined many missions of the World Union to the former Soviet Union and elsewhere. Of all of the participants, Betty could be counted on to empathize with the plight of the Jews. How many times I saw tears in her eyes as she identified completely with the fellow Jews. But not only tears, deeds. They befriended and supported a Soviet Jewish family which came to the States. Betty was the most modest person in her demeanor. She related to every person directly and simply, with no distinction as to a person's status in life. It has been my opportunity to establish personal relationships with many philanthropic families. I can in all honesty state that there is no family like the Blaustein family, as characterized by the Roswells and the Hirschhorns. They became involved personally in every project. The best example is that Betty and Arthur participated in a small mission to Canada to see the works of the famous architect Moshe Safdie, and only afterwards agreed to contribute the funds for the magnificent Blaustein Hall, which is the most renowned facility on the entire campus. I related to Barbara and Arthur as true partners who shared the vision and the aggravation. Because of Betty's professional interests, the family made additional contributions to all the institutions of Reform Judaism, and all are grateful for their characteristic generosity. I stated earlier that to remember Betty, we recall the woman of valor. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and the law of kindness is on her tongue. Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her work praise her in the gates. May the good works of Betty impact on the character and values of all who knew and loved her. Yehi zichra baruch. May Betty's memory be an enduring blessing. Barivka Dick.
Thank you, Judy, and thank you, Rabbi Hirsch, who I saw was on the gathering with us. I want to invite everyone who wants to express some personal thoughts, condolences, to please use the chat box. We will be saving it for the family. I want to give first any members of the extended family, Arthur's family, Roswell's, Blausteins, Weinsteins, anyone who wishes to first share any thoughts. You know, the funeral service is a time for formal remembrances and eulogies. We've heard some beautiful additional eulogies this evening. But it's also, Shiva is a time just for sharing memories. So if any member of the family would like to, please feel free to unmute yourself and share your thoughts.
Hi, hello.
Nancy, we let the immediate family first have an opportunity?
Well, I'm immediate family.
Okay, then speak away.
I'm Nancy Blaustein, and I was Betty's sister-in-law. And I may not be the children or the husband of Betty, but I had such love for her, and I think she did for me. We were sister-in-laws for a long time. I was married to her brother. And I just want to say that it was wonderful to hear tonight from the side of Betty that I didn't know much about. I knew in a general sense that Betty and Art and Barbara and David had done such marvelous philanthropic works. But to hear about Betty's passion and her wanting to know more than just the details of what the donation should be, but to know the facts of it and to know the spirit of it, and to have her joy, really, her intense interest in things and her joy in finding out about things and in caring about people. To have that described so beautifully tonight, I thought was wonderful, and I thank you all for that.
Thank you, Nancy. Forgive me for not recognizing you first. Anyone else from the family?
I'm Debbie Vogelstein. I'm Betty's aunt, niece. She was my aunt. And I've sent a lot of sentiments over the last few days to my cousins and to Arthur, memories that have been echoed over and over by the various eulogies on Friday and then again this evening. Betty was everything that everybody said: caring, curious, beyond the usual, just like Arthur as well. And I said totally in lockstep with Arthur in everything that they did and cherished, and is just a remarkable lifetime of accomplishment. I wanted to relate a story that is on the more humorous side that sort of dovetails on what my brother Michael Hirsch said at the funeral on Friday. He said that he ditched his own parents' home one spring break to spend his time with his Aunt Betty and Uncle Arthur. And I have an example of how Betty did the same thing, but probably to a very dissimilar result. She had surgery in Baltimore, where we grew up, at Johns Hopkins, and had to recover in Baltimore for 2 weeks. And my parents welcomed her, as we all did, into our home. Over all the years of raising her children, we learned that she would always say to her kids, "Why can't you be like Barbara and David's kids?" And she was welcomed into a bedroom amidst all the bedrooms that my siblings and I occupied. And after her 2 weeks of staying there, she did confess that she would never shame her kids again about Barbara's and David's 4 little angels. So she was totally down to earth, absolutely loving. We never regretted that she stayed with us, but I think that we might have launched her career in social work after that. I don't know. So that's my, I don't want to take too much time, but I never, I could never find a better aunt than Aunt Betty.
Thank you. I gather Alexandra Block-Jadel wants to speak.
Yes, thank you very much. My beloved mother, Deborah Garfunkel Block, was Arthur's first cousin, and they were very close in age. And my mother, I remember her telling me stories vividly of their beautiful wedding. And I think not only for the Jewish community, the Reform community, but I think Arthur and Betty should be proud also for the wonderful children and grandchildren that they have raised, and for their kindness and not only generosity, but generosity of spirit. I remember when my father was facing terminal cancer, how caring that they were, and they have been caring of our family always. And I know that this will continue on as a legacy for Betty. Love always. Thank you.
Thank you. Other members of the family?
I'm Edith Scher, Betty's Machtenester, a relationship that can be difficult, but in this case, it was absolutely wonderful. Shortly after the children were married, one of my friends said to me, "Do you get along with your Machatanim?" And I said, "No, we don't get along with them. We really love them. We enjoy their company. We spend vacations together. I think they enjoy our company too. And I treasure the memory of all the good times spent with Betty, a down-to-earth person, just somebody we loved being with, and we knew she loved being with us too."
Thank you, Edith. Anyone else? Okay, we can move beyond the family then if anyone else wishes to share a thought or express a condolence.
Video.
Please feel free.
How do I know? I'm on?
Yes, you are.
Hi, I'm Fern Weinstein. My husband, Maury, and Bob have been business partners I can't, how many years, Maury?
Forever.
We'll say forever. And during the funeral, I think as Judy mentioned about her mom's writing songs. And I just have to share one song and one poem that Betty wrote because it's in my head all the time. When Maury and I got married, I guess that was 37 years ago, then we had a night before wedding party at the Hilton Hotel in Baltimore. And Betty passed around the song sheets, had a picture of the two of us on the front. And we all sang this song to the tune of Funiculi, Funiculi. I had never had this kind of song written about me before, and I have to say, because Maury's college friends were there, I was somewhat embarrassed, but I'll just sing 2 lines for you. Maury Fern, what a special marriage. Maury Fern, how you make us quell. Maury Fern, someday you'll push a carriage. That was the part that, because I was only 27, and for some reason I found that embarrassing. Now I would love if somebody would sing a song about me. And then Maury's thinking it might be 1987 when it was, I think, still Computerland. Their business was called Computerland, and we were on York Road. And Maury and Bob enlarged the space from where they were to next door, and they had a reopening evening, and Arthur and Betty and Anne and Norman read this poem, which was entitled Our Sons, the Computer Doctors. And afterwards, a fabulous cake from the Gaston Avenue was served. And Maury said he thinks it was 1987, but I could have sworn it was last year. Betty was almost always so much fun to be with. It was, I can't tell you how grateful I am that I got to be in her orbit all these years, and I'm going to miss her.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'd like to offer a word. Arthur, first of all, Elaine and I both send our condolences to you and your entire family for such a significant loss as Betty. And I'm personally sorry that I can't be with you right now to put my arms around you and give you a hug. You know, everyone's talked a lot about all the things that you and Betty have done for our people and our movement here and abroad, and it's all true. But the thing that strikes me the most, not as what you've done and what Betty did, but how the two of you did it. I had on more than one occasion the opportunity to be welcomed into your home to talk about ways that the two of you could offer significant support to our reform movement. And I know you and I have talked on more than one occasion about how anxiety-inducing it can feel to approach someone and ask them to give that kind of support. But I have to say, the moment I walked into your home and was greeted by Betty with her open arms and her radiant smile, all those feelings for me melted away. And I just really appreciated the way she made me feel so comfortable and so welcome. I think that speaks volumes about her character, and just that she was a very special woman. I know you'll miss her a lot, and we hope you'll be okay.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else? I'll take the moment of silence to remind you that we will be gathering again tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday evenings at 7 p.m. And tomorrow evening, we're going to be hearing from a few more Reform Movement leaders. We're going to be hearing from Rabbi Dan Freelander, who was a past president of the World Union for Progressive Judaism, and Rabbi Nancy Weiner, who heads up the Blaustein program for pastoral counseling at Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion, and dear friend and former rabbi of Temple Beth-El in Hillsborough, Rabbi Dick Steinbrink. Anyone else want to share a thought or remembrance? So I see Rabbi Weiner's with us now. Yeah. And Nancy. Anyone else?
I'll take care.
I want
Arthur, is that you?
to thank everyone who's talked so lovingly about Betty. And a lot of people got it really right. She would have loved to hear all about herself. And she's the kind of a person who wouldn't believe it. But she too. I remember when we were first talking to the folks at Hillel, and she wanted to know from these folks. They brought some of the Reform Jews who were at Hillel, and Betty quizzed them as to what does Reform mean to them. And so she didn't like the answers at all. And Lee Rosenfield and his staff there decided that something had to be done about that. So, and that was Betty's doing. And she was the person who really instilled the fact that being a Jew isn't enough, it's got to be a Reform Jew. And the word reform is very much was in her mind all the time.
Thank you, Arthur. Well, if no one has anything else to say, we will close this evening with great appreciation for all of your presence. Give one more moment of opportunity if someone has been hesitant and wants to say something.
Arnie, if it's okay, I would like to offer this to Art, and I know how much Betty loved music, and this is a way for me to express how I think we probably all feel.
Please, thank you.
יש כוכבים שאורם מגיע ארצה רק כאשר הם עצמם עבדו ואינם. יש אנשים שזיו זכרם מאיר כאשר הם עצמם אינם. עוד בתוכנו אורות אלה המבהיקים בחשכת הליל. שמראים לאדם את הדרך, את הדרך. הם שמראים לאדם את הדרך, את הדרך. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light. Long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. of the stars that light up the darkest night. These are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways we remember, as we live our days. These are the ways we remember, we remember, we remember, we remember.
Henry, thank you very much. Did you hear me? Henry, thank you very much.
Thank you, Henry.
Did you and Henry thank them?
I can't hear.
Henry, Arthur was.
Yeah. For some reason it's breaking up. I don't know what's going on.
Well, the song.
Okay, let me mute. And
anyone else before we close?
just I couldn't understand what you were saying. Sorry.
Just thank you. Well, thank you all for. Sorry. Go ahead.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
And thanks to everybody who spoke tonight.
Thank you all for joining us. May Betty's memory be a blessing to all of us. Thank you to our friends in Israel, Anat, Gilad, and so many others who are here. I see the chair of the Israel movement, Yair Lutstein's here. Thank you, Rabbi Jacobs. Thank you, Rabbi Hirsch, for your beautiful words. Thank you all. Wishing you all well. Please be safe. Erev Tov, everyone.
All right.
This says, my condolences. Oh, let me turn.